This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you by Faulkner University. Choosing where to go to college is a big decision, and Faulkner University is the right choice for many reasons. First and foremost, they're committed to biblical teaching. Each of their 85 outstanding academic programs infuse Christian principles into the curriculum and prepare students for professional success in their career and meaningful service in their community. Their main campus in Montgomery, Alabama offers an abundance of opportunities for internships, networking, and entertainment. Over 96% of their students receive financial aid, making Faulkner education a great value. Faulkner is a Christian university dedicated to helping you grow strong in your faith, and their family-like atmosphere will make you feel right at home. Check out faulkner.edu today.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. We are once again thankful that you are with us, and we are thankful that the gang is all back together again. Will's with us, Travis is with us, and of course, as we mentioned the last time, we have Jackie Baker from Community Action, a good friend of mine, and thankful to have you on the show. Gave us some really good stuff last time, and we just want to kick back into that discussion and get a little bit deeper into it. I know last time you mentioned to us just kind of your story about what happened early on, the foundation that was set by your family, but then also that during that kind of dark period in your time, your family first enabled, then they sort of cut ties. By the time that all this happened, you also had kids. So I kind of want to just go back a little bit or fast forward, I guess would be the best way. Fast forward to now. Can you share with us sort of how those relationships are now with your family as opposed to maybe what they were?
Yes. So yes, my family rightfully so, cut me off the last probably 3 years of my addiction. And so like I had mentioned earlier, the last time we were here, my mom had passed away before any of this happened. And my sister being older, she kind of took on that responsibility or took on that role in my life. So she really, she suffered a lot through my addiction along with me. But no one suffered more than my two children, my two sons. They were 6 and 8 years old when I left them. My addiction was just so powerful. I would die for them, but I couldn't stop smoking crack for them. I don't, there's no other way to put that. It was such a, it's probably, anyone who hasn't suffered addiction probably could never understand a mother making a statement like that. But addiction, it becomes the reason why you breathe. And it's no longer about getting high. It's about not withdrawing. So there's a point in addiction where it's not fun. It's not laughs and giggles. It's not just partying. It's not just something that you do because it makes you feel good. That might be why you start it, because you're changing the way you feel. But it does become where you use because the withdrawals are so bad.
And I'll interrupt you there. That seems to be the one thing that most families cannot understand and don't understand about addiction. And truthfully, what I have a hard time sometimes understanding, but what you're saying is it almost becomes survival mode. It's not, hey, this is the greatest life.
It's a miserable life. It's a miserable life. Speaking from the addict, I can tell you only for myself and my addiction, I hated myself and I hated that I was so addicted, but the withdrawals from not having the drug were so severe that you would do anything to stop it. It's the most extreme nausea, shaking, cramps, violent headache, violent vomiting, the leg cramps, and you can't sit still and you can't sleep and you can't lay down, you can't stand up. And it's just absolutely it is a horrendous feeling. So the path of addiction is you might take it just for fun the first time. But if you keep on using that drug, eventually that drug becomes all you seek before anything else. you will seek that drug. And it's not to get high and party. It is like you said, it's survival mode. You take it now to stop the withdrawals, not to feel good.
So the family ends up the one hurt by that the most a lot of times.
Yes. And for the families out there, what I can say is this: if you have an addict as a child or a sibling, don't put money in their hands. Don't listen to their sob stories. If they need gas in their car, you take their gas to their car to the station, you put some gas in it. If they say they need money for food, you go and you buy the food and you toss the receipt. If they need clothes, you go get them something to wear and you toss the receipt, pull the tags, toss the receipt. Whatever that they're coming to you and they're just whining and crying and I need, you can supply that need without putting cash in their hands or giving them a receipt with tags. Because if any way they can to get cash in their hands, that's really what they're seeking for. And when they see that, they can no longer lie and manipulate, and you're not going to put cash in their hands. As hard as this is for me to say, especially for any mom or dad out there that has a child suffering this addiction, but you have to let them suffer, because until the consequences for using become more severe than the consequences for not, they will not stop.
So I guess your boys are grown men now.
They are.
Now.
They are.
So how are they doing? With all this, it seems like that relationship has been reestablished. I can see your eyes light up when you bring them up. So how is that relationship now?
Well, the relationship with my boys was able to be restored because of their father. He had a lot of hard feelings toward me, rightfully so. I abandoned my two sons to him. Of course, we were divorced. I abandoned my two sons to him for my life of drugs on the street. And so he was angry and bitter at me, but more so because he had to live with my sons and their pain. He was the one who had to have them cry on his shoulder that their mom didn't love them enough, or their mom abandoned them, or where was their mom, because nobody knew, so he had to suffer that pain with them alone. So he did have a lot of anger toward me. And you would think that out of spite, he would have never let me have contact with those children again, but it was just the opposite. When I served my sentence and was released, I did 8 months on parole at the Love Ladies Center in Birmingham. And while I was there, I had a full-time job. And I sent money home to my children and to my ex-husband that whole time, because I wanted to try to do something right in my life, And so when I ended up making parole and came here to the halfway house, I immediately reached out to my children. And my ex-husband never once, not one time, stopped me from being able to contact my children or see them. He remarried shortly after I was released. And so him and his new wife wanted to go on vacation. And I was, of course, still living at the halfway house. And so he called and he said, hey, the kids are still in school and we're wanting to take a trip to the mountains. Do you want to come over here and stay with them while we're gone? And I was like, oh my gosh, who does that?
Yeah.
That's just, first of all, it's weird, but yes, but then, who does that? Yeah. And so it was just amazing. So I got to sleep on the couch with my kids and get them up and get them to school. And that's things I had missed.
That's huge.
So like you said, they are young men now. So my youngest will be 25 next month. He graduated UNA during COVID in 2020. But his degree, it was useless. And so he, So
many of those.
Yes, we have a piece of paper that's is about worth what the paper was printed, what's printed on. So he re-enrolled last semester in nursing. Awesome. So he is, he just made the dean's list on his first semester in nursing. And then my oldest son is married. I have a beautiful daughter-in-law. She's a realtor in Florence. And my son works for the government. And he has a job on the Arsenal, and he also graduated UNA.
I love your mentality. Even when you were there, you said, I had a full-time job and I was sending money to help.
Yeah.
And God is a multiplier.
Yes, He is
of the little bit of good, and that's all of us. Whether we've struggled like you've struggled with those things, or we've got our own struggle. Man, the things that God can do with just the little meager things that we are able to do. now community action, the things that he's able to do. So that's
what is
pretty
it when
awesome.
you press it down, you shake it up, they run it over, or
Yes,
something
there
like
you
that?
go.
Down,
There you
shaking
go.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's so big because you were showing the willingness. I want to do differently. I want to, and I'm sure. I know you said that was the last time you did drugs, but I know there were temptations, and I know there were struggles, and I know there were things that continue because nobody's going to go through life without temptations and struggles.
Exactly. Right.
But even in the midst of that, you saw there was something. You had a goal, and you had something in mind that I want to get there. And that's so big for when we're going through any kind of struggle is I want what's at the end result there.
Yeah. And and I would say to anyone out there again who may be suffering themselves or have a family member is, first of all, if you are a family member, find Al-Anon. Find Al-Anon. If you are in addiction yourself, please reach out for help. And I will tell you this, for family members out there, you cannot force sobriety on someone in addiction. You cannot beg them, plead them. You cannot incentivize them. An addict has to come to that realization on their own, however it is that has to happen. Because my family, not once but twice, put me in Bradford. And let me just tell you, when I didn't have any health insurance, that was not a cheap feat for a family to come up with that amount of cash to get me in Bradford. And of course, it's because they did an intervention on me at my home. I actually had a home at that point. And so they packed my bags and they drove me to Bradford, and I wasn't willing and I wasn't ready, and it did not work. And the second time, kind of the same situation. They were able to get me scholarship that time, but it was I was forced again. And I say forced because I did it because that's what they wanted me to do. I wasn't doing it because I was ready. And so, that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for those family members that are dealing with someone with addiction, is that, always offer it, let them know it's on the table, but let them ask for it. And now,
sounds like the prodigal son when he came to himself.
Yes.
And realized that there was something better out there.
Yes.
And so much willingness. Yeah. Yes.
It's interesting to me, like the more I listen to your story, Jackie, even to your family story, the word resiliency just keeps coming to mind. Just for you as the addict, but even for your family, for your ex-husband, like just all of those things. And I'm just curious, for people like me, that maybe addiction has not been an issue. It's not been an issue in my family. For us as a church, what are the things that we can do, or the things that we don't need to do to help families and to even help, people themselves go through some of these situations? Just practical, like, don't be stupid here, because we got a lot of people
good at that.
Yeah, that can be really good.
Get stupid.
So, there can be two things going on. Okay. So you can have an addict who is trying to manipulate you out of services, out of some cash. Okay. So what they're looking for is an avenue to facilitate them to be able to continue to use. And then you also have the addict who is seriously, deeply needing help. And how do you figure that out? I can't tell you the answer to that.
Yeah, how do you know when how do you know if an addict is lying to you?
If they're talking.
That's true.
If they're talking.
Yeah.
If they're talking, they're lying.
Yeah.
So this is where I would stand. If someone reaches out for help, then yes, you can offer them help in that you can say, well, we'll reach out to this recovery home for you. We'll reach out to this halfway house for you. We'll reach out to this detox program for you. You can help in those ways. It's a fine line between helping and enabling. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, you're just going to have to discern that yourself as the situation approaches, because, someone who is really, truly seeking help, they will go to the ends of the earth to do right and get well. Someone who is just trying to manipulate you will not. So you can say, you know what, we'll call and we'll get you an appointment for this assessment to see if we can get you admitted into the halfway house. And if that date's no good for them, that time's no good for them, or thank you, but I really just need something to eat and some place to live right now, then you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
And
well, we have a lot of people who stop at the church, and it seems like most of the time they're traveling from Michigan to Florida, and they end up in Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
I have to behind my office right now.
Yeah. So but you've got those, and sometimes it's legitimate, but sometimes it's not.
Right.
Well,
they may show up a few different times.
Right.
It's such a fine line as a Christian, to go, hey, my purpose in life is to help people. But when you have been hit, week after week after week after week with the same stories, it's just going, man, what is it that we can do? And I know at Highland Park, we have Al-Anon, we have AA, and it seems to be those programs are just where, we try and push people, to help, because it's like what you say, it is such a fine line when it comes.
And we can walk next door and get gas for you, or get food for you.
Right.
Or we have a Samaritan house that's got food. And so a lot of times that's our first question. We can give you gas, we can give you some food.
Right.
And if that's denied,
that's
we kind of usually know
exactly.
That's all we can do.
So if someone's coming for need, hands down, if they say, yes, please, would you just buy me a hamburger and a Coke? They're really hungry and thirsty. Yeah. Or if they say, yes, please just put me a few bucks in my car to get me so-and-so, then that's legitimate. When they're like, no, thank you. But, when you get excuses, or they really just rather you give them some money so they can go, then they're probably not being honest. I can tell you that. If you yourself are in addiction and you're struggling, don't be ashamed to reach out for help, because you're not admitting that you're weak, and you're not admitting that you're, just a sorry, low down individual. Okay. Because that's what we believe. We start convincing ourselves that we are unworthy of sobriety. We are unworthy to be a mother to our children. We are unworthy to be a daughter to our mothers. The devil is a lie. Okay. And so he gets you in your thoughts, and his job is to kill, steal, and destroy, whether it be you or your family. And so he uses us to hurt God. He doesn't care about us. Satan doesn't care about us. He cares less about us. What he does care about is hurting God. And so we are God's children, and Satan uses us to hurt him. You are worth sobriety. You are absolutely worth sobriety. And if you are struggling, or if you're a parent especially and you're struggling, please call me. I'm not gonna turn you in or anything like that. But what I will be able to do is link you with some resources, or you can just come in my office and we can just have a real talk, and I'll give you some resources right there, or we can just talk it out and see what the next plan is. But I'm always available. You can find me at Community Action in Florence. Just ask for Jackie Baker. And the only requirement for my program is that you have to be a parent. So you got to have children. That's it.
But, there's something in there too, is just that idea of don't run away from, the help, go towards it.
Yes.
And, that's such a big thing, that we've all make mistakes. We all mess up. We've all done some things, and the shame and the guilt is what pushes you away from the resources. And that's really the difference in people generally is, these people have the resources and these don't, or a lot of times we have the resources at our fingertips. We just don't know about them.
Right.
And that's what I share with people about counseling all the time is, I can't really do anything. You come to my office for an hour, but you're doing things outside my office the rest of the week or the rest of the 2 weeks. And I'm just trying to give you some resources, some different ways of thinking, some different ways of acting, some different things to read and be a part of. That's kind of what you're doing too, is you're giving resources to people to help them succeed.
Yes. And for the addict, it is, I can say from my own experience, for me, it wasn't so much, asking for help, or the shame and guilt kept me out there once I was already there. Addicts are scared of the withdrawals. I don't know how to stress that anymore, but if you have an addict in your family, or you are one, it's the withdrawals that we're scared of experiencing that stops us from seeking help. So I want you guys to know there is help out there that will help you get through the withdrawals. I promise you that.
There are people out there that
Yes.
that
Yes.
would make their day
Yes.
to help you.
Yes.
and to receive that help.
Yes, so that you don't get so violently sick and hurt and everything. There are ways to, there are medical ways to detox you so that you won't suffer that much pain. And so I know that that keeps a lot of people from seeking help, is the fear of the withdrawals. But there is a process to get you through that. And when I tell you that when your body is drug free and your soul is so full of love and hope, there is no feeling in the world, there is no drug in the world that comes close to that peace and happiness that just, I mean, I'm getting my hairs on my arms are standing up. Well, yeah, you get to feel good.
You know, and the other thing, I think a lot of people, if their addiction isn't necessarily drug based, a lot of the things I feel like that a lot of people run from are the consequences of, you know, I know if this is a secretive addiction, once that's out, then my world's going to fall apart. And, you know, but my experience at Bradford, my experience with other addictions, working with people, you know, you've got lawyers, doctors, preachers, nurses, people of a lot of times we think about drug,
and it's not always drugs. I mean, there's a whole host of addictions.
But we have in our minds that it's this certain segment of society.
And I felt that same thing. You know, like I said, I came from a really good family. I was a cheerleader in high school. I was in a FIMU sorority, UNA. You know, I was a certified respiratory therapist. I was that person that, oh my gosh, and I'm going to be honest with you, probably for the first 5 years of my addiction, I was a closet addict. I was a mother and a wife of 2 children. I would, you know, step in and substitute at the schools when their teacher needed to go to a conference. I would be the classroom mom. You know, I coached my kids' first farm league ball team when they were little. So I was living a double life. I was this perfect mom and wife on the outside, and I was tormented with addiction on the inside. And that double life, you know, the drugs won because I was too ashamed to admit and seek help. So don't be ashamed, please, because
it's a whole lot easier early on than later.
Addiction takes you a whole lot further than you want to go, and it keeps you longer than you ever intend on staying.
Family devotional time, fulfilling, organized, fun. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. Moses' words in Deuteronomy 6:4-8 to the children of Israel in the speech that closed out not only his ministry, but also his life, can be overwhelming at times and make us as parents feel like we could be doing more to disciple our children. In the fast-paced life that we live, we're usually just happy if everyone makes it out the door with their shoes on the correct feet. Planning and executing a family devotional time can seem out of reach. We're here to help. The Helping Healing Humor podcast has a tool to help you plan, organize, and execute a fulfilling and fun family devotional time for every member of your family, from toddler to teen. As a member of the Ben and Travis Patreon community, you will have access to tons of content at a small price that will help you grow your spiritual life, disciple your family, or even lead a small group Bible study. Patreon membership fees will help our podcast continue to be better and support the cost of creating and publishing the content that our Helping Healing Humor community has enjoyed. Go to www.patreon.com/Ben and Travis to sign up. Hit the link in the show notes for this month's special offer. Jackie, as we wrap up our time together, and it's been a great time together, we appreciate you coming on.
But you invite me.
We got one more fun question we want to end with. If you could bring back, as in some of these shows are back on TV, you can get them on DVD. We have those capabilities now. You can stream them. But if you could bring back one show, original cast, and they make more episodes, right? What TV show would that be?
I'll tell you a show that I absolutely loved when I was a kid. BJ and the Bear.
BJ and the Bear.
Oh yeah, y'all have to look it up.
Never heard of that one.
Oh, he's a monkey.
How old are you?
His name
No,
is
I'm kidding.
Bear. I'm old. You guys Google BJ and the Bear.
That's the one you bring back.
Yes, because Bear's his monkey.
Okay.
So
Yep.
Bear is a monkey.
Yes.
Bear is the monkey's
BJ.
name.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Bear.
Yes, we need to look that up.
It's not
BJ and
it's
the
not
Bear.
the Bear Bryant.
Nope.
Not the-
BJ
not the
and the Bear. Some of you old folks out there, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a good show called BJ and the Bear.
BJ and the Bear.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Well, you said you've also mentioned that you liked another old show. What was that?
Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie.
Love me some Nelly.
Nellie's not the
Nellie.
one that
Wow.
usually anybody brings up as their.
Wow.
Maybe that's an unpopular opinion.
That may be an unpopular.
Like-
That's
Nailed two
I
questions.
love
You have
some Nelly. I could not wait to see what she was going to do next.
She's
awesome.
the hated person
I
on the show.
know,
That's
'cause,
awesome.
yeah, that's what
Um,
makes her great. We got to
The
have a villain.
Yeah, the
You
villain.
know.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But my family is, when God restores, He restores abundantly. And so, my sons and my daughter-in-law and my sister's my best friend.
Good.
But I will say it took 2 years of sobriety before she would speak to me.
Wow.
So I had to meet her where she was at. I could not pull her where I was because the fact that I had been sober 2 years and I was in a good place did not mean she was. She was still hurt. She was still resentful. She still had a lot of anger at me. And I had to let her work that out while I continued to move forward in my sobriety. And it took 2 years before she and I reconnected. And we are best friends now. So, God's amazing.
What a redemption story. It's
Thank
awesome.
you for sharing that with us. And I know that everybody that hears will be blessed. I've been blessed. I'm happy to have come all the way over the shoals for this interview.
Yeah, man.
And it's always good when we can be together. But
Thank you guys so much for letting me share my story.
Thank you.
ready to thrive in your ministry work? Pursuing a degree in biblical studies at the undergraduate or graduate level is now more convenient than ever at Heritage Christian University. To apply or see all the classes available, visit www.hcu.edu. Nearly all of the classes were created to be taken remotely, so no matter your schedule or location, you can be a part of learning more about the Bible in the new year. Apply today.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.